During this video, you might hear some banging, you might hear some hammering while I'm talking to you, and some glass and all sorts of things, and that's very relevant to the story that I want to tell in this video. So this is a spontaneous one because of the banging that you might be able to hear in a moment. What's happening? We're getting our window replaced. It is one of the coldest days of the year. We've got about 4 or 5 inches of snow outside, and on Sunday our window got smashed. I want to tell you the story of how it got smashed and the strange feeling that triggered in me, and to explain how that came about and what I can do about it now I've experienced it. So here's the story. On Sunday afternoon, we were doing the washing up after lunch. We were in the kitchen at the back of the house, and we suddenly heard this crash, and it was like, very odd, what's that? So we started walking around the house, and we came into the front room to see glass all over the table in the front room and the window smashed. And I got that really sick feeling of dread, like instantly thinking of the absolute worst that could have happened. Really felt awful inside, horrible, much worse. I mean, I get that a smashed window is bad, but the feeling I had was out of all proportion, absolutely out of all proportion. And all I could think of was that somebody had shot the window, which is an out of proportion reaction. But let me wind back a bit and explain first of all what had actually happened, which we found out from a neighbour. A crow and a pigeon were having a fight outside our window, and the pigeon, to escape, shot into our window rather faster than he was planning to, into solid glass, which unfortunately wasn't that solid, and he managed to break it, and he did fly off with a very sore head, as you can imagine. So that's what had actually happened. So how come, watching it, I've got this really sick feeling of dread in my stomach and an image in my head that somebody had shot at our window? Well, it's all to do with something called anchors. Anchors are a concept in psychology and in NLP about how our brain connects strong emotions, good and bad, with the event that first caused it. So you've got anchors, you've got good anchors. I expect if there's a song, for example, that whenever you hear it, it makes you feel really, really happy and joyful and reminds you of summer holidays or something, that's a good anchor. That's a resourceful anchor. So if you want a boost, if you want to feel good, put that music on, play it, and get that feeling back. It's fantastic. Well, unfortunately, I've got a bad and unresourceful anchor, and I actually had to speak to my mum on the phone to be reminded, why did I feel this way about broken glass? And it's hardly believable, but when I was a little child, I lived in Bristol growing up, and in the 1970s, there was somebody who was going around just firing randomly, firing a gun, bullets randomly at houses usually, or at cars, and we were very unlucky. He shot a bullet through our dining room window. Luckily we were I think we were all out, or maybe it was at night, I'm not really sure, but I do remember as a child coming into the dining room and seeing glass all over the floor, and had called the police and actually found a bullet. I'd never seen a bullet before, and the fear that created, the thought that there was, and being only a child as well, not really being able to make sense of it, the thought that there was some madman around shooting bullets, and I think I thought he might shoot us. Fortunately, that wasn't his intention. He was just firing them off at inanimate objects. But I didn't know that. And so that fear and being told by my parents this is what happened, having the police there, was quite a scary thing, having a broken window, all of those things. So when our window broke on Sunday, just gone, that's what came back. That feeling, the dread, the fear, the fear for my life, myself, but from history, from when I was a child. That was what was triggered, and that's an example of an unresourceful anchor that I didn't even know I had. Why would I? It doesn't, windows don't get smashed that often, until it happened, and that sick feeling. But I knew it was disproportionate. I knew it was more than a window's bad, but it's not it's not something to be frightened of, particularly when it's just a couple of birds having a fight. There's nothing sinister there. So it's been really interesting since I spoke to my mum and remembered the original event as well. You don't always remember the original event. If I go back to that example of, say, some music that you remember that makes you happy, you might remember because it was a particular year when you had an especially good summer, something like that, but you might not remember what originally made those happy feelings. But nonetheless, it's an anchor, and it's really embedded in your mind, in your subconscious, so that when you get the trigger, back come those feelings, whether they were good or bad feelings. Now, it's really useful to know that the brain works that way. One of the things that you learn on NLP, right from the diploma, but we go more into it in the practitioner, is how you can use this information that the brain works that way, that it will remember and connect a really strong emotion with the event that first created it. So in my case, it'll connect that dread with the broken glass of a window, so that the next time there's broken glass of a window, my brain will go, oh, it's time to feel dread. And that's exactly what happened on Sunday. But if you know that that's how the brain works, you can use it in a number of different ways. For me, I've been able to use my understanding of that to kind of unpick. Now that it's come back, I don't want that to happen again. I don't think, hopefully, I won't get a window broken again, but it might happen. So I've been able to unpick that connection so that the next time, God forbid, there's a window broken, I'll just have a normal reaction, not that feeling of dread. Now that I know I've got that. So you can unpick unhelpful emotions. You can replace it with something else. So in fact, in my case, I've decided to replace it with a sort of action oriented, because I felt a little bit paralyzed, unable to act. What I want to do, if there's ever a broken window again, I want to be able to just act, like clear it up, board up the window, phone the glazier, whatever it is you need to do. Or you can create anchors for yourself. For example, what if you have a big meeting coming up that you're going to have to speak at, and you're feeling really nervous? So what you want there is an anchor to automatically bring back confidence, for example. So you can use this exact same knowledge that the brain can link an unrelated event with a strong emotion, and you can program an anchor. So you can artificially create that link. We usually link a resourceful state like confidence. We usually link it to something like a gesture. That's why you sometimes see people doing something like that. Yes, or a phrase, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm confident. Or a mental image. When people talk about going to their happy place, that's an anchor, but that's an internal mental image of a happy place. These are all different ways of using anchors. NLP is full of those tools. So whether you want to unhook an unresourceful anchor. So even I had a funny one the other day. I was talking to a friend who said, whenever I see my boss's face on Zoom, I just feel like, ugh. It's an anchor. That feeling of, ugh, she's connected it to her boss's face on Zoom. So we were able to talk about that, unpick it, because that's not a particularly helpful way to feel when you're talking to your boss, is it? Be better to say, whenever I see my boss's face on Zoom, I feel like, yeah, I'm competent, confident, capable, a valuable member of the team. I've got something useful to add. Some other useful feeling is much more valuable. So we were able, in that case, to unpick the unhelpful anchor and substitute it with a much more useful one. A few different examples, but anyway, so that's the story of how our window got broken by a battling pigeon and a crow, how the pigeon came off worse, as did the window, why it created absolute dread in me because of an anchor created when I was a child, and how I've been able to unpick that anchor, and now I'm feeling great. And the good news is, I don't know if you can hear the drilling and the banging in the background, but the window's being mended today, which I'm really glad, because it is one of the coldest days of the year. Why not share any anchors that you know you've got? If they're resourceful, how they help you. If they're unresourceful, what would you like to replace them with? Anyway, lovely to talk to you. I hope you're having a great Wednesday, and I will catch up with you all soon. Bye.